The Horizon. It's a webtoon and the story is based on two people. One is a young boy and another one is a young girl. They've been living in such a brutal world where people are killing each other as they are some kind of animals. So they are on a journey of a hope to find out a peaceful place where they can live together forever. But the question is, will they? What's up guys, I'm Mr. Winstorm and you guys are welcome to my channel. This webtoon has a 21 chapter and today we are going to cover the first chapter. And I'm very excited to tell you about. So let's don't waste any more time, let's do this thing. Chapter has started with some running folks. They had been running to save their life because it was a war zone area. A mother's eyes were completely full of tears as if she had known it was the last time she was seeing her son. So she was telling her son not to come out from that place till outside the place wouldn't have become silence. And after that, she had left. The war was going on for some time. People were screaming, asking for helping, but no one was there to help them. However, eventually at some point the war was over. The kid wasn't hearing any more voices such as gunshots and screaming of people. Therefore he had gone out. He didn't see anything outside besides corpses. There was no living human beings besides him. He was searching around to find out his own mother. She might be alive. Not so long, she found her at some point. She was lying down on the ground. Her head was brutally smashed. Her brain was outside her head. To the boy it was a nightmare seeing his mother at that state. He couldn't process what had happened to his mother. In fact, he couldn't even produce a word from his mouth. He was just looking to his mother's dead body for a while. Nevertheless, some time has passed. He sat next to her. His hand was shaking, but he was still accumulating the brain of his mother to put in her bag. Maybe, just maybe she became alive, but it didn't work. So he had run to gather some other folks' brains. It might work. He had brought their brain and then he was putting one by one in his mother's head. While he was doing, his eyes were full of tears. Anyways, all of his hope was gone. There was nothing he could do to bring her back, and that broke his heart, as not only was she died, but also he lived alone in such a disaster world. She had been standing by his side a few minutes before, but then she was lying down on the ground lifelessly. To the boy, it had felt like it had been the end of his life as well as his world. Hundreds of people's bodies were lying down on the ground, and he was in the middle of them. So he had been lost in thought while having been looking to his own mother's body. He had been reflected of his utterly tragic reality. He had thought about the value of life, about his own life, and about death. At the end, he had reached to the conclusion. He was thinking the value and the meaning of life were just fictitious, that could be fabricated and destroyed by a man. Life only exists to approach death. What he was thinking, it was sad, but it's the truth of the life, what we need to accept. Anyway, the whole city was destroyed and fire smoke was everywhere. For some reason, the boy had stood up on his feet, turned around and began walking. He was silent, but he was moving forward step by step on his feet. He was still going forward and forward without saying a word, having no idea where he was going, but all that what he could do at that time, moving forward. He filled up his water bottle from the river and then he walked. There was a guy, he had kicked the bucket, so he grabbed his bag and then he walked. On his horrible journey, he had seen many things such as war, hunger, and most of it was loneliness. But the thing is, he still walked. There was nothing for him in that world to live for it. What was for him? Just darkness as far as he could see. However, one day he saw a bus, so he got on it. It was completely empty, no one was inside. Therefore, he had got to sleep at the end seat of the bus. Nevertheless, he couldn't sleep, though he was trying to sleep, but he couldn't, because the day was still haunting him when his mother was passed out. In addition, it was totally clear from his cold eyes. It felt like he still remembered the day as if it was yesterday. The night had passed, then it was morning. He slowly opened his eyes. He saw a person, or if I say it was a young cute girl. She was hiding behind the bus seat. She was looking at him the whole time while he was sleeping. Furthermore, from that moment, they were just staring to each other without blinking their eyes, and they were also completely silent. Only a few seconds had passed, but it had felt like hours, and then they had thought perhaps the time had stopped. They both had sat there without saying a word. They had been thinking of the same thing. They had probably sharing the same experience and had been living the similar lives. The boy had wanted to say something, but he couldn't bring himself to say anything, and neither could she. Anyway, then the bomb blast had happened, and that had broken their silence. Outside, a soldier was shooting up people, and they were looking up from inside. The boy hadn't thought aloud, he had just grabbed her hand and run. In the next moment, the bus was exploded. But luckily they were saved and still was running. Some people had kicked the bucket. Nevertheless, some were still running for safety area. It was like a nightmare scene, not only for them, but also for those two kids. It didn't matter if they had seen a woman, an old man, or a child. They were just wiping out no matter who was in front of them. The boy had certainly thought why the world had turned out that way. They were dispatching civilians as they were some kind of insects. If that's how their life would be, then it would be better to just... Before he'd say something else, he heard a crying voice. It was her. From the fear, not only was she crying but also trembling. When the boy had seen her in that state, for some reason he had grabbed her hand again and run with all his might. Don't ask why he had done that, but I think it was a desire to survive and live another day. Both they went into the forest. Afterwards they were tired because of the running. However, they realized they had been holding hands all the way till there. So they unheld each other's hand and they were confused what they were gonna do next. They had no idea what they would do. Consequently, they had sat on the ground and had been looking at each other silently for minutes. Then they said the first word hi at same time to each other. From that day on, both of them had gone on a journey together. Boy was first and the girl was second. They were walking without saying a word to each other the whole time. In fact, they were that much silent they could be hearing inside voices. The boy offered chocolate to her and she gladly accepted. She was taking a bite from it while they were walking. Monkeys were hanging on the tree branch. On the other hand, the boy's foot was stuck in the root and fell down on the ground. His knee was wounded and blood was coming out from it. Therefore, she applied medicine on his knees and afterwards she bandaged them. And once again, they were walking forward. They had crossed the whole wood by walking. Besides, they hadn't stopped the whole way till they didn't see the road. They stood there beside the road for a few minutes or two. Then they looked at each other and of course, they had walked again. Although as far as they could see, there wasn't anything. The whole road was empty as well as surrounded areas. Yet they were still moving forward. The girl asked the boy where they were going. He was silent for a few seconds. Afterward he answered, anywhere. Furthermore he said, one thing for sure is that road will end somewhere. After hearing that from him, she asked again, and what waiting us at the end of this road? He replied, just the end of this road. Further she was telling him, Earth is round and it's hold on to us so that we don't fly into the space. Maybe this means we will be able to keep moving forever. He looked at her and said, maybe. Then she smiled and also said, maybe. Chapter 1 is ended at here. I hope you guys loved this chapter. If you did, so please subscribe the channel. I won't mind if you guys do it. And second chapter I will upload as soon as I can. So see you around. And also, thanks for watching.